Welcome to study session 2, Historical Precursor to the International State System 1. Cities-states 1. Greek city-states. Introduction. In this study session, you will learn about the historical forms of political organization, or more accurately, the historical development of the state system, which will provide a background to understanding the evolution of international state system. The historical examples of state systems, such as those of the Greeks, show the development of rudimentary international institutions such as diplomacy and trade, but war, conquest and slavery were the most notable correlates of political independence. Most systems of states eventually collapsed through constant warfare to be taken over by neighboring empires and kingdoms. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Define city-states. 2. Discuss the organs of the city-states. 3. Analyze the diplomacy of the Greek city-states. A brief on the Greek city-states. As noted in study session 1, the city-state was an arrangement of a small territory dominated by a single city. It is a political system consisting of an independent city having sovereignty over contiguous territory and serving as a central and serving as a center and leader of political, economic, and cultural life. This kind of state was common in ancient period. The political unit in ancient Greek was the city-state. While other peoples settled for one king of political arrangement, the Greek was struggling between monarchy, oligarchy, democracy, and tyranny. And while other people were forming empires, the Greek cities usually preferred independence in the form of a polis, a city-state, and other times preferred to join some alliances. Apart from the several differences that the several cities had, Greek cities shared a lot in common, and many other factors did favor the formation of alliances. Organs of the Greek city-states. The first organs of the city-states were the General Assembly of all its members and the magistracy of the council. At an early date of a council, began to replace the unwieldy assembly for ordinary political and legislative business. And with the growing complexity of the constitution, further councils emerged, conditions varying considerably from town to town. The assembly or ecclesia. The institutions by which this body of citizens members undertook to transact its political business can be illustrated by taking Athens as the best known type of the democratic constitution. Take 2. As the best known type of the democratic constitution. The whole body of male citizens formed the assembly or ecclesia, a town meeting which every Athenian was entitled to attend after he had reached the age of 20 years. The assembly met regularly 10 times in the year and in extraordinary session at the call of the council. The interesting thing about Athenian government is therefore not the assembly of the whole people, but the political means which had been designed to make the magistrates and officials responsible to the citizen body and answerable to its control. The terms were short. There was usually a provision against re-election, and thus the way was open for other citizens to have a turn at the management of public affairs. The two bodies which formed the keys to popular control of government on Athens were the Council of 500 and the court with their large popular juries. The manner in which the members of these governing bodies were chosen explains the sense in which they could be said to represent the whole people. Council of 500. In substance, the Council of 500 was an executive and steering committee for the assembly. The actual work of governing was really centered on this committee. 500 were reduced to a working size by the favorable device of rotation in office. Each of the 10 tribes into which the Athenians were divided furnished 50 of the members, and the 50 members from a single tribe was active for 1/10 of the yearly term of office. 500 were reduced to a working size by the favorable device of rotation in office. Each of the 10 tribes into which the Athenians were divided furnished 50 of the members, and the 50 members from a single tribe was active for 1/10 of the yearly term of office. Duties of the council. A. The council was charged with the very important duty of proposing measures for the consideration of the General Assembly of the citizens, which only acted upon matters coming to it through the council. B. In addition to these legislative duties, the council was also the central executive body in the government. Foreign embassies had access to the people only through the council. C. It had entire control of finances, the management, public property, and taxation. Court. The Athenian courts were undoubtedly a keystone to the whole democratic system. The men of these courts, that is, jurymen, were nominated by the Denis, a panel of 6,000 being elected each year, and were chosen by lot to sit in particular courts and upon particular cases. Any Athenian citizens 30 years old might be chosen for this duty. Body. Scarcely ever less than 201, commonly as many as 501, and sometimes much larger. Duties of the court. The main duty of the court was to render just decision in particular cases, either civil or criminal. In addition, they had power vastly beyond this, which to modern ideas were clearly of an executive or legislative rather than of a judicial nature. It was through these courts, however, that popular controls, both of magistrates and of the law itself, was consummated. The 10 generals. One important body of Athenian officials, which remained outside the scheme of choice by lot and which retained a much larger measure of independence than the others, was the body of the 10 generals. They were chosen by direct election and were of course eligible to repeated elections. The generals were, of course, in theory purely military officers, but especially in imperial days, they actually exercised not only important powers in foreign parts of the Athenian empire, but also very great influence over the decision of the council and the assembly at home. Local government. For purposes of local government, the Athenians were divided into about 100 demis, or as they might be called, wards or parishes or townships. These dems were the units of local governments. Membership in them was hereditary. They were the door by which the Athenian entered into citizenship. They kept the register of their members at every Athenian, and every Athenian boy was enrolled at the age of 18. But their really important function was the representation of candidates to fill the various bodies by which the central government was carried on. Diplomacy of the Greek city-states. The Greek city-states formed alliances. Before the Trojan War, there is little account for Greek alliances. The expedition to Troy, however, also constitutes an early example of an alliance formed by polis. with the participating armies recognizing Amagellan, ruler of Argos, as their leader. A number of reasons that motivated the formation of such alliances can be traced throughout the history. The most obvious one being the common elements that the Greek city-states shared. What distinguished Greeks from non-Greeks was their language, which was common among Greek city-states in most parts, maybe in several dialects. Greek tradition was also common for the cities, and Greek mythology was usually shared among them. Religion and moral beliefs were also very similar, giving the belief to the Olympian gods and the frequent visits to their representatives at Delphi, for example. A second cause for alliances was the defense against the Persian danger. The formation of the Hellenic League when the Persians started moving towards mainland. Greece was an early example, with the league consisting of many Greek city-states defending themselves in Marathon, Salamis, and Platae. As soon as the Persian threat was miles away from mainland Greece, the league broke up, thus making clear the reasons of its formation. The Delian League, formed soon after, was also formed for this reason. Toctic states the Athenian fixed which cities were to contribute money against the barbarian, which ships, their professed object being to retaliate for their sufferings by ravaging the Persian king's country. Thus, even though, as it turned out in the end, the Athenians turned the alliances into an empire, the barbarian danger was a significant cause for the formation of alliances. A further reason to the formation of an alliance was to defend from or attack to another existing alliance. Another reason for joining an alliance was the inability to stay independent, especially in the case of existing and powerful alliances or empires were having a war with each other. Study session summary. In this study session, you examine the structure of city-states using Greece as an example. This is the end of study session 2. Thank you for listening.